Hello, my name is Tom Clairman and I am the creator of the J-TRANE evaluation tool. And I've created this video to show you how to use the tool and navigate around Microsoft Excel 2010 or later, which is required to run the tool. So I've already went to the website located at juvenilesexoffenders.com, and I've downloaded the tool and I created a folder on my desktop entitled J-TRANE, and I'll go ahead and click into that. And here is the tool. So we'll click on that and that'll open Microsoft Excel automatically. Now, in order to have the tool work properly, you need Microsoft Excel 2010 or later. I am working on another option for those of you that do not have that program. At the top, normally when you open this, you might see a warning bar that asks you if you want to enable content or enable editing, and you should do that. You should click on it. I think later in this video I will show you what that looks like. But you'll notice there's 5 worksheets across the bottom here, and the tool will always open to the last worksheet that you had open, and the first time you open it, it'll open to the About J-TRANE worksheet. And you're certainly welcome to scroll through this worksheet and read about how the tool works, how it's scored, read about the worksheets and what they look like. It shows some pictures and explains ratings on the scale itself. It also has some strengths and limitations that are noted at the bottom of the section. So if we go to the assessment items worksheet, this is the worksheet that you're going to first come to when you first do an evaluation. And I'm going to go through this worksheet with you in more detail. But for right now, over on the left side, you're going to have 18 items, and there's 2 domains. The first domain is home, school, community. And the second domain I will show you later is entitled treatment. And over on the right side is the scoring criteria. So 0 to 5 is the scoring rating. And what I'll usually do is we'll have youth attend individual, family, and group therapy, depending on the youth's needs, if they attend all 3 or not, during the month. And then once a month I have what's called a treatment team staffing. And at that staffing is the youth, their parents, any significant family members. If the youth's not doing well in school, we might have a teacher or somebody from the school that represents the school. We will also have a social worker or a probation officer, and we will score this assessment items worksheet together. And we'll come back to the sheet in a minute. The third worksheet is called the scoring sheet, and on this worksheet there's a couple areas to enter some data. So up here where it says client name, you'll want to double click in there, and for today's purposes we're going to call this John Doe. And our name today will be Larry Smith. So if you scroll down this worksheet, you'll see that all of the assessment items are here, the scores are here, and I'll show you this worksheet more in a little bit. But if we scroll to the bottom, you can see there is a comments box, and this is where you can put your information from your treatment staffings. And I like to include who attended the staffing, what was discussed, pros and cons of the last month, goals for the next month. I might add in there privileges that were granted by the social worker or probation officer. And that way, when I print out this sheet at the end of the staffing for all the members, everyone will know where the scoring criteria are for that month and the comments that were discussed. Down at the bottom here is an archive progress button, which I will show you shortly. On the fourth worksheet, progress report, this worksheet requires no editing at all. In fact, you can see the client name is already in and the date is in, and that transferred over from entering it in the scoring sheet. We will talk a little bit more about this sheet in a little bit. On the fifth worksheet, it's called Identify Protective Factors, and this is another worksheet that does not require any editing. The program does this automatically, and as you can see, the client name, therapist name, and date are already transferred over. And depending on the scoring that is done in the assessment items worksheet, certain protective factors may be identified. This is a one-page sheet when it's completely full, and you can choose to print this out for families as a strengths-based approach to showing them positives or protective factors. The progress report, I will show you more here in a minute, but for now, let's go to the assessment items and do an assessment. For today's purposes, I'm just going to enter some random numbers in the assessment scales, and there's two ways to do this. You can use the mouse, and you can click on the boxes. You can't really click outside the boxes, but you can click on the boxes, or you can do like I do. I like to use the arrow keys, and I like to just go up and down using the arrow keys to enter the data. So for today's purposes, I'm just going to enter some random data. I'll let you guys read the items and the definitions and the scoring criteria. And as we get through this, there's a couple things that I like to explain to kids or youth in the program. First of all is this idea of demonstrates being responsible. Item number 6. I explain to youth that in order to rate higher on the scale, such as a 4 or 5, they need to be practicing responsibility and their privileges without direct or constant supervision. This is not something typically done in the beginning of treatment, so youth are told that a 4 or 5 is something that comes later after they're able to have some unsupervised time, if that is allowed by the treatment team. So I will continue to make some scores here. Now down here at assessment domain 2, which is entitled treatment, I like to fill out this section myself, and I'm probably the best judge on where kids are at in their treatment, and I usually will discuss this at the staffing, and sometimes for the first staffing or the first evaluation for a youth, I might go through this and explain why I've chosen the scoring that I did. So for today's purposes, again, I'm just going to enter some random numbers here and get through this. And once I get down to item number 18, which is entitled relapse prevention, right here, I usually explain to youth as well that in order to score higher in this area, it usually doesn't occur until later in treatment. Much of the relapse prevention work is done towards the end of treatment, so this score is usually going to be pretty low in the beginning of treatment. Now if we click on the scoring sheet and we scroll up here, you'll see that the scoring data has all been transferred over automatically from the entries that you made in the assessment items worksheet. And what's nice about this worksheet, especially for youth, is that it shows some pie graphs that are really easy for youth to understand. They can see where their progress is at, and the scale is divided up into 3 sections: a 0, 1 for high need, a 2 and 3 for moderate need, and a 4 and 5 for minimal need. And as you scroll down, there will be a total score, and that will determine what treatment level they're in. And these levels will be highlighted and populated based on the score, and this is automatically handled by Excel. The supervision response level has 3 buttons that are not shown on the print of this form. Neither is this button shown when you print it. But these buttons are override buttons that are explained more in the About J-TRANE worksheet. And once you click on them, you can override a supervision response level. It'll show up as an override, and then in the comment section you should include a comment as to why you did the override. That's explained more in About J-TRANE. So after your first assessment, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to archive the progress for that assessment. And when you click on that button, you'll see a little flash on the screen. And basically what the program did is it put the information for that evaluation in the progress report. So you can see these are all the scoring details for today when I just did the evaluation, and you can see our 2 domains and our overall progress score. This sheet has the ability to have 12 separate columns. It's made for the course of a year. And if you fill this sheet up, what you're going to want to do is come up here and click copy and reset. And what that will do is create a new progress report with the date that you copied it, and it'll reset this progress report page so all the information is blank again. And we're going to come back to this in a minute. So once the Scoring is done. You can also see the Identified Protective Factors worksheet populated with 5 identified protective factors. And basically this sheet is any score of 4 or 5 in the minimal need on the assessment item sheet. And sometimes, like I said, I like to print this off for youth as a strengths approach to show them what they're doing well in. Some youth really need that encouragement. Now going back to the scoring sheet, I will print this off for all the treatment team members, and the youth are really good about hanging on to this sheet. They want to know where their points are at from month to month, and they're very interested in the colors on here, as you will notice if you decide to use this in your program. The first time I do the evaluation, I go up and click File, and I don't click Save, because if I click Save, it'll overwrite my master J-TRANE assessment. So what I do is I click Save As, and I go back to that folder on my desktop, and I give it a name. I usually give it the client's name, and in this case, the client's name is John Doe, and I click Save. And what that does is it saves the assessment into the folder on the desktop. So the next time you do the evaluation, a month from now or whenever you choose to do these, that's all you have to do is come back into this folder, click on the use name, and it'll open up the same assessment that you had from the month before. And you're going to want to go to the first, there's that security warning I told you about earlier, where you want to enable content. That's what it looks like. You should always click that in order to run the assessment. So you can go down to the assessment items and scroll back to the top, and you'll see the scores from last month, and you can go back through it on the new evaluation. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to enter some random scores here. I'm going to do it fairly quick, just to make them different than the last one I just did, so that I can show you what it looks like. Now if we go to the scoring sheet, let's say this is a new month. It still has today's date, obviously, because I'm doing it in this video, but let's scroll down. I would delete the old comments, and I would add new comments here for the new treatment team meeting. And when I'm done, I would click Archive Progress. And if I go to the progress report, what you'll notice is now you have 2 dates in. You have the scores from the last evaluation and the scores from this evaluation. And over on the right side, you'll see what's called spark lines. And spark lines are an indicator of progress or decline in scores. And sometimes when I see a pattern with kids moving backwards in treatment or not doing well, I'll print this sheet out and show them, and we'll have a discussion about it. And this can be very useful, especially as you get more and more scores in here. And it's really important for kids to see that they're making progress. And that's what this evaluation tool is all about, not just with the spark lines, but on the scoring sheet with regards to the pie graphs. So the interesting thing is, after you're done with your second evaluation, that's all you have to do is go up and click File. And since the file name is already saved as the kid's name, you just click Save. And you can exit out. And then the next time you come in and do an evaluation, you just do it all over again. You click on the client's name, and you go in and you enter into the assessment items worksheet, and you do the evaluation over. So I hope this video has been helpful. I do find that this assessment has been very valuable in our program, and I think it's been valuable to the kids. They would be the first ones to tell you that. And it's noticeable almost immediately, especially at that second evaluation when kids have their forms from last month out and they're comparing them. And I really think it's an important tool to use with the youth. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can certainly contact me through my website, which is juvenilesexoffenders.com. You can download this tool. In fact, if you're viewing this video on the website, there's a download link right under the video for you to access and save this evaluation tool. I will continue to add updates to this tool. Right now this is version 5, as indicated on the J-TRANE About page. And I hope it's something that you enjoy using in your practice. And please, by all means, feel free to give me some comments back on it. Thank you.